Welcome back to the show. It might be a holiday, but we've got all the news you need to know for Ripple, XRP, and the crypto industry broadly, and it's out here to know. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $2.8 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is up 0.6%. 70,500 for Bitcoin right now. 3,600 for Ethereum. 104 billion market cap for Tether right now. And number 7 spot is XRP slips down by 1. 62 cents. We're off by 0.1 on the 24 and off by 0.7 on the 7-day. The range of price between 62 and 63 cents. We'll keep an eye on it, but that's pretty tight at the moment. But I tell you what, 32 days and counting till XRP Las Vegas. VIP tickets are sold out. General admission tickets have already now set a record for this event. We are now, every ticket that is bought is setting a world record for XRP Las Vegas. This is absolutely remarkable. All of you are incredible. And I want to tell you, it is going to be one of the most important conferences you've ever been to in your life, and you can't overstate it. You are going to hear directly from David Schwartz about the ever-expanding ledger. You're going to hear from the Honorable Cristian Carlo, former head of the CFTC, now the co-founder of the Digital Dollar Project. We're going to talk directly about all the geopolitical events and everything surrounding the de-dollarization movement and what it takes to keep the dollar dominant for the next 150 years plus, and so many others. I'm telling you, this is going to be a remarkable moment. It is a new era of finance is the theme of this, and we will be releasing the agenda very soon next week, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. The Future of Digital Asset Benefit Dinner, you can click that link right there and get a ticket and support the Digital Chamber by buying that ticket, and it's tax deductible because it's a charity donation, and you'll get to have private dinner with Brad Garlinghouse. You'll get to have private dinner with John Deaton, the Honorable Cristian Carlo, Michael Arrington, and many others. Make sure you do it and get your room at the MGM Grand. Stay right on site. I'm telling you, this is going to be a remarkable whirlwind 2-day event. Do not mess around. Get your ticket now before they're gone. I'm telling you, there's so many people coming. We're already setting a new record right now, so join us. Link underneath the video or xrplasvegas.com. Now, I had an interview that I released yesterday, and it was remarkable. And it always is a pleasure to sit down and talk with the Digital Chamber and Perry-Ann Boring here. And she says, I've learned so much from listening to Dig Perspectives. We had a very interesting chat yesterday about the state of play in Washington, and we really did. And I say that I learn a lot too, because you know what? I don't know as much as I'd like to think that I do about how DC works, but I'll tell you who does. It's Perry-Ann Boring and the entire staff at the Digital Chamber. So it is absolutely going both ways here. We're learning a lot here too, and we're very grateful for the knowledge, no doubt about it. But listen to this quick clip here.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the conversations, we've had about ETHgate, and I've had the opportunity to learn a lot from you, and I appreciate you taking the time to share with me, your work and your research on this. I would say from my perspective, the thing that's most concerning, that's really under scrutiny right now is, was there any type of conflict of interest between William Hinman and someone in the private sector? Was there compensation for the speech that he gave? That is extremely concerning to me. And, the public policy process needs to be protected. It needs to be protected from bribery. It needs to be protected from corruption. And so to the extent that there is anything inappropriate there, I do think it should be investigated in depth. By the commission, by the government, so we can, make sure we have a public policy process that people trust.
I'll tell you something, and the clip goes on, and in the interview, if you have not heard it, it is remarkable. All the different areas we go into in the current state of play of what's going on in DC and legislation and policy for digital assets. It's really a great conversation. And I tell you, you should be you should be going back and watching the entire thing. I hate to have to cut this off because for the sake of time, we've got so much other to go over information. But definitely shout out to all the work being done. And don't miss your chance to see the Digital Chamber on stage, because we're going to be talking about things on stage you haven't even heard about yet. So make sure you join us for that. Get your tickets today, no doubt. Now, this from Eleanor Terrett, who will also be at the benefit dinner. Judge in the Custodia Bank versus Federal Reserve case has mostly sided with the federal government, the Federal Reserve, that's not the federal government, in summary judgment, and denied Custodia's petition for review of its APA claim and its motion for judgment on its statutory mandamus claim. So essentially what I'm seeing out of this is that this is more boondoggling to keep the Fed where it is and to keep Custodia Bank where it is, which is outside of the system, not allowing them to have a master account. And remember, this was rotten what they did. They made Custodia Bank file for the master account application, waited like 18 months or longer, and then told Caitlin Long and Custodia Bank, nah, it's a no from us, right? And you know what the harm of this is? Here's the real harm. I believe that the reason that Custodia Bank and Caitlin Long are being denied is because she wants to bring banking back under a responsible framework, which means that the Custodia Bank literally doesn't want to do fractional lending. They want to be backed 1-to-1, which is the way it should be. You know what's interesting about this? A little birdie told me, this has been months ago, a little birdie told me a few months ago that the reason they told them no about not giving Custodia Bank a master account is because why would we do that? Then you would be the only bank, and it would take no time for the people in the world to realize that your bank is more secure than the rest of the entire banking system. So they're not opening the door for Caitlin and Custodia Bank because everyone else is doing it wrong. And unless you're going to do it wrong like we're doing it, you're not coming in to the Cool Kids Club. That's what we're watching happen here. It's not much different than what we've seen with William Hinman's actions and Jay Clayton at his time in the SEC, let alone the debacles we've seen, countless debacles we've seen, billions of dollars of debacles we've seen from Gary Gensler's ineptness. Celsius, Voyager, FTX, Luna. The list just goes on and on. We could go all day here, but we're not going to. Nevertheless, coming to this conversation here, bringing it back here, this is Eleanor Terra says she just had a great conversation with Senator Toomey, who describes the judge's opinion below as completely contradictory and inconsistent, and the summary judgment decision is completely wrong. This is in the Custodia Bank case still. The former Senator Toomey wrote an amicus brief on behalf of Custodia Bank and passed a law when he was in Congress that requires the Fed to reveal the list of entities that it granted master accounts to. On that list, non-banks including Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts, Fidelity Management Trust Company, and others. And there'll be more on this conversation with Toomey and Judge Skadavel's decision to come. So this fight's not over. And I hope that it's not over because I think Caitlin Long deserves an opportunity to launch Custodia Bank and bring responsible lending and banking back to the system. Stuart Alderoty strikes back, Chief Legal Officer from Ripple here, and strikes back on the Coinbase being denied on their motion to dismiss. And he says here, Coinbase's ruling, basically the SEC sold the judge a bill of goods that she had to accept as true at this stage of the case. Now comes the hard part, producing evidence. My bet, says Stu, the SEC is all hat, no cattle. Remember the time that Ripple judge booted the SEC's hack expert, tried to say he knew what purchasers of XRP were relying on? I remember, Stu. I'm telling you, Stuart is getting really good at this Twitter business. Meanwhile, the SEC is now probing crypto companies like Ethereum, investigating as hopes for an ETF DIM, and this is because it's been leaned into by the SEC through its poster child Show Pony Prometheum platform, which says that Aaron Kaplan, the CEO there, says they will list Ethereum as a security on that platform because of proof of stake. Now, this is interesting because there's a great conversation that jumped off here just late yesterday from Molly Elmore, and then David Schwartz hopped in. And this is a fantastic conversation. You know what? And this is exactly what this is too. A great conversation. Something you don't often get to witness on social media platforms. So I'm extra excited about it for that reason too. So shout out to both of these people here. And I'm pretty sure Molly Elmore is going to be at XRP Las Vegas. And I'm pretty damn sure that David Schwartz is, because he's going to be on stage for a fireside chat. You're not going to want to miss it. Yeah. Let's say for a minute, says Molly Elmore, that staking, a digital asset that rewards validators using proof of stake, is considered a security. There are rules around who can buy legal securities, and in some instances are limited to accredited investors. Prometheum is pushing for ETH to be considered a security. There are rules around who can buy legal securities, and in some instances are accredited investors. Prometheum pushing this idea: what if assets isn't determined to be a security, but staking it is? BlackRock is tokenizing assets on Ethereum. Is it a coincidence that that happened after Ethereum switched to proof of stake? Was this the play? 1, launch ETH and distribute it very cheaply to the insider network of disguised whales. 2, test out the network for a few years, make sure the pipes work, incentivize miners rewards during this time. 3, transition to proof of stake, now offering large token holders the rewards for validating, knowing that everything changes once the institutions get on board. 4, introduce legislation that limits staking to accredited investors and institutions. This leads to justifies private markets. I'm not clear on this part. Staking can be managed separately from the exchange marketplace or not. Push as many institutional projects onto Ethereum to make the tokenization launch boom profitable via assets under managed percentage and staking fees. Everything I type is POS. I laugh. That also means piece of poop. We know that's not poop. And another unfortunate coincidence. Yes, it is. And then the dialogue kicks in here, which is super fantastic. And let me get back to that very quickly here. David Schwartz comes in and says, I don't understand how to make sense of this. If staking is a security, why do rules around who can buy securities matter? Nobody sells or buys staking itself, since it's a service provided by the system itself. That's a fantastic way of putting it out there. For example, the token is not staking, so buying or selling the token would not be a securities transaction. And no company's efforts provide the revenue. So a company selling staking services wouldn't be an issuer of a security, so who would be a subject to regulation? Great question. Molly says, the entity in this situation that does the work is the validator. They collect the assets from the clients who want their assets staked for them and update the ledger using their resources. Is there an agreement contract between a staker submitting their assets to earn yield and validator using those funds to be awarded the staking rewards? That sounds like a security to me if you have an arrangement, correct? David says, no, that's not right at all. The validator is providing a service for a fee. The source of the staking rewards is not the validator's efforts, but the ecosystem of the token. This is just the ordinary employment of an agent to sustain a business, like hiring someone to maintain, let me find where I left my place off here. Ordinary employment to maintain your fleet of work trucks. While it's true that you can lose money if the validator screws up, that's true of all business arrangements. I can't even believe the SEC would make an argument this ridiculous. What agreement for a service that had a business as its customers would not be a security if the argument you make money if they do their job right and lose money if they don't is enough to make an arrangement for a securities agreement? Molly says loans, bonds are also securities. So if I loan you money so that you can do your job as a validator and you pay me interest as compensation for the loan, isn't that the agreement between the validator and the staker? For what it's worth, I'm not advocating to give the SEC any more room to run, is what she says there. And he says, first, nobody is loaning anybody any money. The money always belongs to the person staking it. Second, no, loans are not securities unless the purpose of the loan is for the seller to obtain investment funds. Here, the seller, if there isn't even a seller of the loan, is not raising funds for their business, and the loan actually advances the lender's purpose, not the borrower's. The loans cannot be transferred, but only can the capital be returned to the lender. Similarly to lenders are well aware that these are not investments in the borrower business enterprise. All of these factors weigh against them being considered securities, and then cites the case law for that. I don't think this argument comes anywhere close to working. The operator of validators simply isn't soliciting investment in its business, and no reasonable buyer could understand them to be investing in the validator's operator business. So the plot thickens, and what a great back and forth between these two to suss out some of that surface, kind of walking through what would the arguments of the SEC be, which is really what I think Molly's doing here. I think we all understand Molly is not a fan of the SEC doing the things they've done over the last few years, and we're not either. But this is certainly a great back and forth to kind of suss out those topics and ideas and see where they hit a wall or not. And I think it's great because I think crypto in and of itself, I said this in the interview with Perry Ann Boring, I think crypto assets in and of themselves, as XRP was ruled, is not a security. Now, you can package these things to be insecurities, and I can understand the legal argument to find out whether proof of stake is or isn't a security. I've talked about these different technologies and legal buckets that are coming. So it's all right here in front of us. What I want to say is that here we watch European Union's crypto regulation called MiCA will come into effect during this year of 2024. According to several experts, it will have profound impact on the entire crypto sector to the point of even becoming a global reference point for crypto regulation. Yes, I believe that is correct. And this is the Middle East here talking about the fact that 23-24 will be very satisfied if you've made the right investments decisions, because we're going to see a lot of adoption and opening up towards that 25, 20, or 30 window, and things have to start going soon in order to move to a new financial system. Things have to start happening very soon. That's why stablecoin legislation is so very important in the United States. And here we see evidence of it coming very soon because we know Ripple partner HSBC is using Medico, the recently acquired company by Ripple, for their digital institutional custody, and that is super huge. So it's all starting to happen. And Gary Gensler here discusses at MIT in this short clip. He understands exactly what XRP's power can do for the world. Take a listen.
Ripple is this simple chart. What if I move fiat to crypto and crypto to fiat? I'm calling crypto a currency for this purpose. Right. Xcurrent is a messaging app of Ripple's, and it's competing with Swift. And it has some reasonable adoption. A lot of banks are starting to use it. What pain points would this be solving? But it might lower the numbers of intermediaries. What else might it do? This is basically a way that you can shorten the settlement times. Oh. This can be done literally in seconds. Big corporate treasuries are going to try to do this. That the treasury function of Apple and others might take this up.
No, he's talking about big corporate treasuries might take this up. He said banks are already using it. We know that they are too, right? Then remember this throwback clip here when I spoke to Bob Way in 2019. And I asked him directly about escrow being pre-allocated because I thought it all the way back in 2017 before I was even in the YouTube space. And it's confirmed.
Important to remember about escrow that there could be portions along the way here that are allocated for entities like banks who understand we're not going to be like the record company, put us on until we're going to get our blockchain together and all our this together and get their stuff in-house together, but it's waiting for them at a certain point as well. So is that a little too optimistic, or is that fair to say?
So let me expand on that a little bit, but that's generally fair to say.
It's generally fair to say. There you have it. The majority of XRP from the escrow will never see the light of day. It will be used for global intrabank transfers. The XRP will be in closed liquidity pool that the public will not have access to. Public supply will continue to drain into that pool. XRP 20,000. I tell you, that's the goal. And I believe that's why we're hung up in this quagmire, that not only is Ripple hung up into this, but there's many other different technologies that I think will be cited and targeted to create legal precedent, to carve the way for Congress to create legislation off of these legal precedent points made in court. Is it the longer way to go? You better believe it. But I'll tell you this, it's the way we're going. So I appreciate the way other countries have had a much quicker way of doing things without going by the way of regulation by enforcement. But this is the path that the United States has taken as far as the regulators are concerned, and Gary Gensler. But you know what? We're going to get there. We are going to get there. I really do believe that. And I'm going to leave it right there. And don't forget, too, that, you know, I've always said, and I could be wrong, and it's fine if I am, because I'd take a settlement, too. But I've always believed that this case will go to the Supreme Court, because that way you keep a legal dog leash on this very new money that you're introducing inside of the financial system, not outside of it. And you're going to want to keep a legal dog leash of appeals and things of that nature on this case for as long as you possibly can, while you begin to allow mass adoption to take place within the financial system. Because if something goes wrong, they will need to be able to call it back quickly and turn it into digital marbles. When you're introducing a new money to the world, and make no mistake, crypto is not what it's about for me. This has always been about introducing a new money and new monetary system to the world. And that's exactly what I've been witnessing from where I'm sitting. And in order to do that, you get one try at this to get it right. And you cannot afford to get it wrong. And if you do, you better have some legal recourse on how to call it all back. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I hope you're having a great holiday if you celebrate. And if you're not, I hope you're just having a great day with family, friends. And I will catch all of you on the next one. Not financial advice from me or anyone else.